All right, I have two more for you. Now, a great Russian author once said, if you show a gun in the first act, you have to fire it by the last act. So we all know there's been a gun sitting on stage for the last couple of demos. Anyone know what it is? Not live ramp. Let's go show them. Custom algorithms. There's a custom algorithm button that we didn't click. We have to click all the buttons. So I think custom algorithms are fascinating. Actually, Ann and I invented these at AppNexus a long time ago. And the idea of bringing all these different signals we're talking about together with the power of things like weighting bids or combining them with more intelligence makes this whole thing way more interesting. And so, of course, we had to build some kind of custom algorithm technology into this. Now, we've showed a lot of cool signals. One thing I think is really powerful is when a partner brings their own data and signals to play with. And so one of our partners that I find really fascinating is Media.net. They operate a media search network that they've done for, I don't know, a while. 10 years, 15 years? Something?
15.
15. That's a lot. And they have this incredible rich network of intent signals from pages, like an intent-based contextual graph. And so I thought, wouldn't that be a cool place to go build some custom algorithms? Let's go use one of our partners' data and actually make some cool algorithms with it. So Karan, do you have a minute? Like, want to come up and play around with some data?
It's magic.
Wow.
His face
You might
is on
get
the
called on.
screen.
You never know. All right. So tell us a little bit about what we're going to see. What are you doing at Media.net that we can mine for these incredible algorithms?
Sure. So, like Brian said, we've in our previous avatar, we used to run a large contextual, search-driven contextual ad network. We had a lot of search advertisers that sort of actively went into it's a sort of sister company of ours, went into a platform similar to AdWords, targeted search-driven intent signals. Which over time now bids programmatically also into our SSP. And basically over time has informed a graph that we've built, which uses a lot of the search intent data to understand what users might be looking for, kind of reverse engineers Google search in that sense, like where a user would type in something on Google search and then you'd go to a website and we're looking at the website and trying to sort of reverse that and think of what the user could have searched for to land on that site, and that's how we've sort of built this graph. And then we've seen performance against that to sort of see whether a person looking for flights to Vail could actually be a ski-interested user, right? So that's sort of how we've built this graph over time, and we use that to sort of package inventory. And what was really interesting when Brian started talking about the agentic platform was as signal loss sort of starts to become even more prevalent than we already have experienced. What we thought was really interesting was to see how we could use all of these signals to allow agencies and advertisers to use custom algorithms to test against each of these, right? So instead of just lumping it all into sort of one package and then hoping it sort of performs, you could essentially create multiple. You could create conquesting deal IDs. You could create direct targeting, lookalikes, et cetera, based all on search intent sort of context signals, and then have the agentic platform sort of decision on that based on the performance that you're seeing, where you could increase scale by bidding higher on one, asking for more traffic for a certain type of deal, or reduce waste on some of the ones that are not working for you. So that's sort of the thought process that we were thinking about when Brian brought up the agentic platform, to be able to real-time test against context.
Yeah, and one thing I think is cool about this is, a lot of the times we see that programmatic can commoditize things, that it makes everything look the same. But this is actually a case where there's a unique asset that Media.net has that no one else does, and we can actually use these agents to build on top of this unique differentiator.
That's right. Yeah, we have 15 years of search intent, performant search intent data that we would love to sort of make available through the agentic platform and have agencies and advertisers transact against that using the or use that as intelligence to be able to adjust bids or reduce waste as they like.
Yeah. So you want to play with it? And can we do a little search signal custom algorithm campaign? Karan, you can stay here and you can talk smack as we screw it up. Okay, so for this one, we're using Coca-Cola. Thank goodness. We're going to go sell some Coke. I mean, Coca-Cola. And we skipped the targeting part because you've already seen it a couple times. And now we're going to go straight back to that optimization screen where I dropped the create an algorithm button. So what we're going to do is first we're going to choose a metric here. And so we're going to predict expected value, which is basically how much we think Coca-Cola should pay for an impression. And this is effectively a logistic regression or a simple multiplier algorithm. And the first thing we need to do is add a list of weights that we want to plug into this equation. So let's do that. Now, the way this works is actually that you could upload it, but when you have a lot of dimensions and a lot of data, what you're going to do is actually have some kind of offline process that's mining performance, and it's going to write those weights back into something, probably a cloud storage bucket. Now, if you're a Scope3 partner, you know that we have this very sophisticated capability of pulling information off of cloud buckets. And so all you have to do is actually build your optimizer to write whatever data you want to CSV files or JSON files on the cloud somewhere, and we'll go pick it up. So let's show what that looks like. So this is an example. This is my bucket, where we have demo weights list. And I just wrote a script that would generate extremely sophisticated data for Coca-Cola based on, as you can see, day part and search signals. So this is actually leveraging a full loop on which signals actually performed. I'm going to change the weights of my campaigns based on these. Every time I put a new signal up here, it needs to get caught by Scope3. So we actually have this integrate system where I can add a cloud bucket. This is all demo weights list. Oh, you were too fast for me.
It happens really fast in real life.
It is very fast. But basically, if you just give us permission to a bucket, we type in the weights list, and that's it. Like, it's 2 screens. There's a bunch of stuff to actually map fields across these buckets as well, so if your fields aren't named the same as we expect. But this is a fully baked integration system, so we can pull in a custom algorithm from a partner extremely easily. What this also means is that if you're an agency playing around with agents and you wanted to actually start testing with how to write some of these algorithms, it really is as easy as writing files to a cloud, which everyone can do. So save it. Now, there are 2 lists there. There's a step we're not showing where we'd actually name them, so they have pretty human names. But if you click Select Existing List, there's 2 things we just did. There's Coca-Cola performance by category, and you'll see there search signals category media.net only, because that's the only place you can use this signal. Now, had I used someone else's data, it might have said some other data signal and a $, because you have to pay for some data, just as with any platform. If it's not ours to use, you would have to license it from a partner. So let's add that one, and then let's also add the other one. So what we're going to do now is take the category scores and multiply them by the day part scores times 2. And that's going to give us our basic sense of value for this campaign. If you want to visualize that, one thing we think is really helpful is to show things, especially if you're an agency. And fine, your AI can figure this out. But I think there's a lot of opportunity here to understand the data in our systems. And so the famous Nico, he of the Magic Triangle, actually came up with a few really cool visualizations to try to understand what the data is telling us. And this would change every time you push a new file. And what this is basically saying is that, at least with this data set, there's more purchase intent coming at night. These are people trying to stay up and go party, I guess. You can sort of see Nico's biases in this data. And then you can see who likes Coca-Cola and who doesn't. So you've got freelancers and foodies. I mean, it's a really high-end cola for sure. And then down here, wait, you guys are all business professionals. Why are you not drinking my Coca-Cola thingy? But this is the kind of thing I think that helps us not just have this be a opaque system. We can understand what it's doing and potentially see issues when these systems aren't performing right. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's save this.
Oh, very important.
You got to save it. And now we're going to deploy it, and we're going to push it to media.net. I'm going to show you another cool thing here. So let's set up floor price, like $250 or something, and then let's add some PMPs. So what we're going to do here, give it some random deal name, and then, yeah, you want to select a DSP? So Hawk has a $sign by it. If you're not familiar with Hawk, it is a DSP that was very successful in the UK and France and was purchased by Azerion. And about 6 months ago, Matt, are you here somewhere?
Oh, hey, Brian.
Hey, Matt. I wrote a snarky comment on X, as one does, and I said, man, why do you have to pay your DSP so much money to do curation? He said, he literally messaged me on, I think it was on X, and said, hey, we've got this DSP that we don't run in the US yet. What if we actually built it into the curation cost? That an advertiser who wanted to use Hawk, we could actually bundle it into curation. And so that is actually what we have done here. So one cool thing about this is that because this is a contextual PMP, it's really important not to put targeting on the buy side. If you put a frequency cap on, it will look for cookies, and you'll lose all your distribution on Safari and anywhere else that cookies don't run. And so this is not meant to be offensive, but in this model, Hawk can be a dumb DSP. It doesn't need to add a lot of targeting. It can just accept that all the targeting is sitting here, or much of it is sitting in curation, so we can actually send just the impressions that it needs to buy. And so the costs of running that technically are much lower, and therefore we can have all of this built into the curation cost. Is that about right?
That's 100% right.
Awesome. So I think this is really cool. I put it in this example because specifically for cookieless PMPs, it's really important to have a DSP, which you can do with any DSP, but to make sure it's lined up and actually connects to exactly how this is targeting. Now, the last thing here is we wrote a custom algorithm. What does it do? And in this case, there's two choices. One is if we think that the deal price is higher than the value, don't send the deal. This is like automatic sell-side optimization of the deal. We'll only send through to the DSP impressions where it's worth the price. The other option is have a very low price deal, like a penny deal, but then actually use a soft floor to set the price to exactly what the advertiser should pay. This is almost a collaborative optimization with the DSP. Let's turn the soft floor on for a second. We probably don't want to price it at the full value because then the advertiser wouldn't make any money. We can actually choose how far to discount. I don't think that one wiggles. You can try. It's painful to make these things wiggle. But this is basically building in margin for the buyer from this. And because we have these precise search signals, we can actually create these performant PMPs, which is something that I don't think anyone's ever seen before. But when you have high intent data and you have the ability to do custom algorithms, we can make PMPs perform in ways that they haven't ever before. They've only been used really for branding strategies because they haven't had these tools. So I think it's really cool. Thank you for collaborating with us on this. It's going to be awesome. So thank you very much.
Thank you.